In the ancient kingdom of Ohiakpa, Princess Emarachi, first daughter of King Iwizu, was famed across lands for her beauty. Her skin glowed like morning palm wine, her waist beads jingled like laughter in a moonlight gathering, and her eyes, deep, dark, and haunting, held both longing and sorrow. She had grown up behind the high red walls of the royal compound, guarded day and night, untouched by the world. The king was fiercely protective, she was his jewel, the symbol of his reign. But Emarachi's heart yearned for the world beyond the palace gates, the sound of market women's songs, the smell of roasted yam on village hearths, the feel of the free wind on her face. Most of all, she yearned for love, one not chosen by kings or council, but one chosen by the beating of her own heart. Far beyond the palace walls, Obinna, son of a great warrior, lived in exile. Once the kingdom's bravest defender, he had saved Ohiakpa from an invasion 3 years prior. But treachery from within the royal court had turned the king against him. Accused of a crime he did not commit, Obinna was stripped of his titles and banished to the outer lands. Since then, he lived in the wild forests, hunting by day, sleeping by night to the cries of distant spirits. He carried two things always, his long spear, and the pain of betrayal. On the day of the New Yam festival, Emarachi pleaded with her father to allow her to join the village celebrations disguised as a common maiden. After much persuasion, the king reluctantly agreed, sending 2 disguise guards to shadow her from a distance. In the bustling festival crowd, Emarachi wandered freely, her laughter mingling with the drummers' beats. But fate intervened when a sudden commotion erupted. The royal goats had broken loose, scattering through the market. Emarachi chased after one, laughing, but tripped on a stone. Before she could fall, strong arms caught her. She looked up, and there he was. Obinna. Their eyes locked. Something ancient and unspoken passed between them. Obinna recognized her instantly, her regal bearing, the grace in her movements. But he said nothing of it. You should watch your step, he said, his deep voice carrying both strength and gentleness. She smiled faintly. And you should watch the way you stare at strangers. They walked together through the festival, talking like old friends who had just met. She learned he was a hunter who lived outside the kingdom, he learned she loved moonlight dances and hated the weight of royal gold. That evening, as the drums softened and the fires dimmed, they stood in the shadows of the marketplace. I don't know your name, she whispered. Obinna, he said. And you? She hesitated. Amara. They both knew she was lying. Over the next moon cycles, Emarachi and Obinna met in a secret grove beyond the palace walls. They spoke of dreams, of freedom, of the ache of being caged by fate. One night, he brought her a hand-carved pendant shaped like a dove. A dove flies where it wishes, he said, placing it around her neck. May you do the same one day. She touched his face with trembling fingers. And what do you wish for? He answered without hesitation, you. Their love might have remained hidden, but one night, the king's spies followed Emarachi to the grove. The next day, the king summoned her. His voice was ice. You have dishonored this kingdom, my daughter. That man is an exile. His blood is tainted with treachery. You will never see him again. When she protested, his eyes hardened. If you defy me, I will have him executed before the shrine of Oni. 2 nights later, guards stormed into the forest, capturing Obinna. He did not resist, his thoughts were only of Emarachi. Bound in chains, he was dragged into the palace courtyard, where the execution stake awaited. Emarachi, desperate, ran to the priestess of Oni for help. The old woman listened, her eyes deep with secrets. There is one way, the priestess said. But it will cost you both dearly. If you give him your royal heart in full truth, the gods may spare him, but the kingdom will lose you. At dawn, as the crowd gathered for the execution, Amarachi stepped forward, dressed in white, her dove pendant shining. Before the king and the gods, she declared, "If Obinna dies, I die with him. For his soul is mine, and mine is his." The crowd gasped. The priestess raised her staff. "The gods have heard. Let the king choose his daughter's life, or his pride." The king trembled. He looked at his only daughter, tears in her eyes, and at the warrior he had wronged years ago. At last, the king's voice broke. "Release him." Chains fell. Obinna stepped forward, pulling Amarachi into his arms before the whole kingdom. The priestess spoke again, "Let this be known, the heart of a princess, the soul of a warrior, are one. No man shall part them." In time, the king restored Obinna's honor and made him commander of the royal guard. Amarachi and Obinna were wed in a grand festival, their union symbolizing the mending of old wounds. Their love became legend, not because it was forbidden, but because it was stronger than fear. Years later, as they walked hand in hand through the palace gardens, Amarachi touched her dove pendant and smiled. "You gave me wings," she whispered. Obinna kissed her hand. "And you gave me a reason to fly." And so, the heart of a princess and the soul of a warrior beat together, forever.